A few weeks ago, one of my brides requested a vintage rustic wedding decor idea. Today on my channel, we are going to be creating a shabby chic burlap and pearls centerpiece trio. Donna, it is my hope that you will find inspiration in what we do today. Stay tuned. For this project, you will need 4 tapered candlestick holders, 2 of these column vases, 1 of these fluted vases. You will also need 2 patterns of burlap, any pattern of your choice, color of your choice. You will need 2 floating candles. You will need 1 package of these burlap hearts, 1 package of these crystal dazzlers, any color of your choice. You will need 1 pack of these pearl garlands, colors of your choice, a round foam ball. Of course, you're going to need your handy dandy tools. Let's get crafting. So now the first thing that we're going to do is prepare our candlesticks for this project. And if you've been watching me for quite some time, you know that this is an easy fix. We're just going to take 1 candlestick and turn the second one over onto it, glue it with some E6000 and set it to dry for about 20 to 30 minutes. What I'm doing now is I am placing some of those crystal dazzlers in the mouth of that second candlestick that is standing up there. And if you look closely, you can see where in the neck of that candlestick, I have also placed some of those dazzlers just to give another dimension of color when the entire centerpiece is put together. And so now what we're going to do is we are going to take our column vase and we are going to measure out our burlap ribbon to make sure we have enough to go all the way around. And so what I'm doing is simply measuring and cutting off the excess, or cutting it off of the entire roll, exactly what I need to cover this vase. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with my hot glue to start this, because what that hot glue is going to do is dry quickly, of course, and hold that ribbon in place. So as we're turning and as we're going around, that ribbon is not going to budge. I am going to be using a combination of my hot glue gun with this ribbon as well as my E6000 glue to ensure that we are getting a right now adhesion, but we're also going to get a permanent adhesion as that E6000 glue bonds the burlap and the glass together. And so as you can see, I'm now going to start using my E6000 glue, just putting down a few beads of that glue in strategic places, hoping to have it hold the ribbon down in place as securely as possible. And then I'm going to continue with my hot glue to make sure that in strategic places I'm placing some hot glue down to make sure that that ribbon is staying in place right away where we need it to stay. And so I'm just going to continue this process, going all the way around, making sure to stretch that ribbon to ensure again that there are no lumps, no bumps, no humps. Everything is laid down nicely, and this is looking as if we have bought it in a store. So as you can see, more E6000 glue. I'm going to stretch the burlap again to make sure that it is smoothed down. Then I'm going in with my hot glue gun, laying it down, stretching it out. And then I think I'm gonna go one more round with my hot glue And as you will see, instead of cutting this ribbon flush to the point where those two edges meet, what I'm going to do is overlap it a little bit so that we have a finished look as well, and it is not just abruptly starting and stopping and maybe there's a break somewhere in the middle of that ribbon. So just putting down some hot glue to seal these two ends together, using my scissors, patting it down to save my fingers, going in with some more hot glue to ensure that I'm getting maximum coverage where I need that ribbon to lay securely. And there you have it. We have laid our first burlap ribbon. All right, and here we have our burlap ribbon that we have just placed on our cylindrical vase. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to come in now with our string of beads, and we are going to put down a layer of beads right at the edge of that burlap ribbon. And to do this very easy, my Danny's darlings, we are going to go in with our hot glue and in stages. We're not going to go around the entire vase because we don't want that glue to dry and seize up on us, but maybe about 4 to 5 beads at a time, the length of 4 to 5 beads at a time. Place them in the glue, pat them down, make sure that they're set before you continue to do this. And we're going to continue this process until we get all the way around the vase, step by step, making sure that we are patting the beads down, that they're secure in that place, and ensuring also that we are using a very light hand on the hot glue. You do not want to use too much hot glue because really and truly you're not covering, you're just placing those beads in the hot glue. And so if you use too much glue, you're going to be able to see when that glue dries how much glue is actually just sitting there not holding on to anything. And then of course, if you were to say, well, I can clean this up or I can fix that, by the time you start picking at that glue, it's going to just lift up your entire pearl garland. So now that we have gotten all the way back around to the other side, we're going to cut off the excess or the string of beads that we no longer need, and we are going to close that gap in completely. Once I have done that, I'm just going to pat it, make sure it is set in place, show you what it looks like, and then I'm going to continue that same process going around the brim of the vase, and I'll be right back to show you what it looks like. So here we have our vase embellished with our burlap and our 2 layers of a pearl garland. And so now we are going to use one of our burlap hearts to place just on the middle, what is going to become the front of that vase. And to do this, I am going to excuse me, go in with my E6000 glue, just a little bit. We don't want to use too much. We don't want any seepage when we place that on the glass, but going in with my E6000 glue and then a few beads of my hot glue to ensure, of course, right now stick while we continue working and that E6000 glue has a chance to cure. And so just a few beads of my hot glue, and then what I'm going to do is I am going to find the front center. Now to do this, as you can see, what is facing you is the back where we glued that ribbon together. You want to make sure that the back of your vase is lined up and is pointing directly at the back, and what you're going to do is you're going to use that point to figure out what the front or the middle front of your glass is. And so even though I'm not facing you, you can see through that glass vase that the front of my vase is lined up with the back of my vase, and I have centered this heart. And what you want to do using a popsicle stick or your scissors, or you see me using my nails here, just make sure that that piece is affixed firmly to that glass. Okay, so now that we have prepared our vase, we are now ready to mount it on our candlesticks. And to do this, all we are going to do is go in with our E6000 glue along the edge of that upside down candlestick. And again, remember, we place some dazzlers in there. Of course, that step is optional. You do not have to do that if you do not desire. But once we have set our glue down, what we're going to do, or what I do, is give it a few minutes or a few seconds so that it can get just a little tacky and not be as wet as it would be coming right out of the tube. And once I have allowed that glue to get tacky a little bit, what I'm gonna do is find my placement and place my vase on top of that candlestick. And what you just saw me do, I just went around underneath with my fingers and kind of felt where it was sitting, because the cylinder, the vase, is actually about the same size as the bottom of that candlestick, and so really there's not much playing to be done with that space. And once I have found my placement and I'm satisfied with it, I will place a weight in it. I used a can of spray paint just to set it in there to make sure that it is sitting securely and that glue will bond and dry. So what we're going to do now is embellish our last glass, the tallest piece in our centerpiece. And to do this, we are going to be using our second pattern of burlap, going in pretty much like we did the first one with our hot glue and our E6000, ensuring that we are placing that glue in very strategic places. And once I have done that, I am going to go in with my burlap hearts and place them very strategically, maybe in a pattern, I'm not quite sure yet, but you will be able to see what I did when I return. So here we have our finished fluted vase, and I embellished it in pretty much the same way as I did the smaller two. Instead, that one got 2 hearts, and the pearl garland did not go all the way around and closed in the middle. So the last thing we have to do now is create our flower ball. And to do this, I'm just gonna go in around the sides of the flower ball. I'm not going to cover the bottom of that styrofoam, because this is what I'm going to use to just simply sit in that vase to create the centerpiece. And very simply, just using the flowers of my choice. I really love these pink and beige roses that I got from the Hobby Lobby. And I'm just gonna go around half of that ball and then fill in the top of that ball, making sure that there are no spaces, that I can't see any of the green of that foam ball, following the pattern of alternating colors. And once I have completed this process, what I will do is clean up any glue fronds that are still hanging out on our centerpiece vases, clean up, set the table, and then I will be back to show you what our finished project looks like. Well, there you have it, my darlings, our Shabby Chic Burlap and Pearls centerpiece trio. Today, we were able to use burlap and pearls to create a timeless yet chic look that any bride would love to have at their wedding. And if you notice, even though we've added just a little touch of bling, if you will, in our glassware and our candle holders, really and truly, this is still a rustic style. Donna, I sure hope that you have found inspiration in today's video. I would love to hear your feedback. And to the rest of you, my Danny's darlings, those of you who are subscribed to my channel, I would just like to take this time to thank you for all of your comments, your concerns, your questions, your suggestions. Donna, thank you for your suggestion today. And to those of you who may have ended up on my channel because you saw the thumbnail and you were curious to see what was going on this side of YouTube, please kindly consider joining our ever-growing family of DIYers, where we ask ourselves the question, why buy when we can DIY? Listen, it has been a pleasure working with you guys today. As usual and as always, before I leave you, I want to say to you, be well, take care, know that I love you all, and I look forward until the next time when we will craft together again and learn from each other. Bye now.